Alright, welcome everybody. I am Tainted Dota, in case you haven't watched any of the other videos I have up. And instead of doing a, bantering gameplay with my buddy Tempered, or just gameplay and music, right now I'm going to actually talk about one of the ships that I do love to play in, and that I have posted some gameplay of. And some pretty, awesome gameplay footage, and it's not like a highlight reel for that ship. That's more like a common occurrence. That ship being right here, the HMS Nelson. Nelson is an amazing ship, and we're going to go kind of talk about it point by point. Which means first we're going to lead off with what's probably the worst part of the ship, and that's the armoring scheme. Which, from the initial little click, it doesn't seem too bad. It seems pretty standard. 32mm side, 13mm deck back here, and a 32mm torpedo barge with decent 406 turret facings, 356 barabits, a good thick conning tower, and even the upper part of the conning tower, which is kind of unique to the Nelson. Most ships don't have this like little extra tower here, but it's 127 and then 76, but it's very angled, so a lot of the smaller AP rounds will kind of glance off it and definitely be immune to HE, even though it is a small hitbox. Again, you have the same tier 7, 25mm aft and bow, and that's part of the problem. Because once we pull away the plating display, you get to see that her citadel is kind of on the huge side. Sits up very, very high, as you can see, past the water line. And you're looking at only 152mm down here to 305. So that bulkhead is not very sturdy, which means things that rip through the bow, large caliber rounds, and heck, sometimes even a good high velocity 203, if it's done right, can actually pretty much generate citadel hits. And that is an issue. The other issue is, from the side, we're still not even at 400mm, we're still only looking at 388 millimeters between incoming shells and your squishy bits. So you've got to be real careful on how you angle her. Even a slight over-angling sometimes can cause some pain. Now that that's out of the way, we'll point out one of the good things about her armoring scheme. Her superstructure is actually very small from the front, so when you're dealing with things that can't overmatch that bow, you've got a small target for them to hit, and that is very good. Keeps you in the fight a lot longer from someone just trying to punish your superstructure with HE, or even a battleship who's going to try to throw some AP at it. So it's not all bad news on the armor front, but it definitely is not all good news either. But that's probably the low point of the ship, because now we're going to talk about the fun part that gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And that's this main battery of 16-inch guns. Sorry, Wargaming, I refuse to refer to them in millimeter when they were historically referred to as 16-inch. So, they're 16-inch guns. And they are set up all on the bow. Two super firing that are very, very easy to bring to target because, well, they're never going to be obstructed, really. This third gun, however, is also not that hard to bring onto the target. You can easily waggle yourself a little bit, either going forward or backward, and get that turret to bear without really overexposing your side, especially at intermediate range. Then you fire, you quickly wiggle back, so you've only got your front profile again while you're reloading, and you just kind of, work yourself in a little S pattern. I recommend not always nudging out the same way, alternate back and forth, right, left, 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 right, 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 left. Keep your opponent guessing, because if they do start getting predicting, they can punish you for it. So always try to keep them off guard. Don't move in a set pattern. It's a very easy trap to fall into. Even I do it, so just try to avoid it. Now, these guns have some definite amazing qualities. One of them is that 12,000 AP alpha damage. And their pen is very reliable for a tier 7. I mean, all the tier 7 16-inch guns are a little lighter on pen than their tier 8, 9, and 10 brethren, but these, you don't really feel too much problem. You catch even a broadside Freddy, and you're going to get those penetrating hits. You're going to do that damage. It's very nice. Their accuracy is not shabby either. A 225 meter rather dispersion at maximum range. Now, take in mind that is with an accuracy mod. but that's still not horrible. We're still talking very normal tier 7 kind of gunnery there. 180 degree turret turn, not really too much of an issue because you should never really be rotating 180 degrees. If you have to, it's at least reasonably speedy. I mean, we're not talking the glacier slow Warspite turrets or something here. So now let's talk about that HE shell too. 46% fire chance. When you get up tiered and you're faced with things you can't overmatch, they're going to battle tank you. Just pop that HE in and just watch the burn for a second. It's amazing. Gun range of 18.2, which puts you, kind of in the blah range for tier 7, but it's not abysmally short. It's very workable. So amazing main battery guns, very easy to get all nine of them on target, and that right there is more than makes up for the little bit of squishy. Secondaries, you've got 6 single 120s. These are also your dual purpose AAs. Interesting enough, they actually have an 8% fire chance, which for a 120mm gun is pretty goddamn high. About a 5-second base reload. That stat is with Captain Perk. Then you've got your 152s. They have a 12-second reload, because again, that is with a Captain Perk. Right there. Also note that these are slightly buff ranges, but I have no flags equipped. So, the 152s are not quite as useful as the 120s as they fire an AP shell, but you can't have everything. Now, when we come back here though, you notice they're all clustered at the rear quarter of the ship. If a DD tries to sneak up in your rear, point blank range, he does get punished by 10 barrels because this is a super firing turret right here. So you've got the 4 per side 152s and then the 2 120s. Otherwise, you're looking at a broadside of 9 guns. Pretty reasonable for its tier. Not the best, not the worst. Same thing with the range. So her secondaries aren't anything to really brag about, but they're not something to snub either. So, again, artillery is where the ship shines. Now we move on to AA, which is always a plus on a ship. You've got a lot of close range AA. 39-20 mils right there. 168 DPS, which is pretty good. It's going to reliably swat down tier 6-7 planes. You'll bag an 8 here and there, but it won't be too prevalent to the lower compared to the lower tier ones. The 143 DPS off the 2-pounders with a 3-kilometer range is a lot more reliable. And then lastly, the dual purpose, not a lot of them, not a lot of DPS really reaching out that far. So you're not really going to be contributing to anybody else's defense, but you've got enough to knock a bird or 2 down on the way to take you out, so that helps. Maneuverability, she's not the fastest lady, and she's not the slowest, but she is towards the back of that pack. Kind of looking at you here, Colorado, I love you. You're an amazingly tanky ship, but you're a little slow. And Nelson here is not terribly faster, but 3 knots is enough to win a race between the two. Not going to keep up with a King George or a Gneisenau or a Sharn, but one of those you can't have everything. The 750-meter turning circle on a battleship, not horrible. Again, we're not talking stellar maneuverability here with a slow rudder shift, but again, she's kind of got a weird bow shape with the way she's situated, so her maneuverability is definitely a little different feeling when it comes to turning than some others, because she's very front heavy. Lastly, we'll come down here to her concealment. 12.8 detectability by sea. It's actually pretty solid for a tier 7. You don't have access to the concealment mod yet, because otherwise that would really plunge down even further. So the good news is you're not going to get seen before some of the other battleships out there. You will be able to sneak up, get into intermediate range, and deploy those 16-inch guns with some serious effect. The 10.6 air detection, that's, she's a little fat from the top view, so not much you can do about that. Planes will spot you from outside your AA bubble, but there's nothing a battleship can do about that. You just got to live with it. Nothing new with the assured detection. firing from smoke is, well, that ship has sailed, all puns intended. So now we'll talk about what does it cost to get her. Is she worth the money? Well, seeing as how she can be purchased for 0 monetary investment, yes, totally worth it. The Nelson is found on the British tech tree, and if you don't have her research, she'll sit here and she'll just be 375,000 experience. Well, since she doesn't have any ships leading to her to research off of, that means you would have to use free XP. So for 375,000 free XP, you get a monster tier 7. Slight learning curve with that angling, but after a few games you should be able to get it down pretty easy. If you have any questions on that, there is a lot of videos of people playing the Nelson. I posted one. I'll toss a link in the description so that you can just jump right to it and just kind of see how I do it, the wiggle waggling, keeping shots from bouncing, the effectiveness of her AP shells in particular in that game. So again, awesome ship, 375,000 free XP, which can be a little bit of a grind, but it's one of those ones where if you're not really fully committed to getting a Musashi or a Missouri, but still want some help with some of that credit grind, I would say get the Nelson. Again, you can get it without ever spending a dime of your money, which, you know, hey, a lot of people don't necessarily want to spend large sums of money or any money on the game. They just want to take a free-to-play to be a free-to-play. Well, this ship will help keep you in the credits so that you can do your research, so that you can get those tier 8s, 9s, and 10s. Because otherwise, credit grinding can be a bear, and this thing will help with that. Captain build, I recommend. This is what I use. Feel free to experiment with other builds. I'm sure there's more than a few out there. You can build her for survivability. I have sort of a very offensive build. Its first step is preventive maintenance. Keeps all your modules from getting knocked out as much. That's very, very useful. Next is the expert marksman. I'm using Jack Dunkirk so that it's slightly better. Usually it's 0.7. With him it goes to 0.1. Adrenaline Rush is an interesting skill with this ship, because you're going to yo-yo when we get to the consumables. You'll understand why. Basic fire training, advanced fire training for the secondaries, the superintendent, and concealment expert. So pretty standard right there. Now, why is that superintendent so crucial? Excuse me, a little potato. Ammunition and consumables here. Super heal. This basically heals 40% of your health as opposed to standard 20. Granted, I have the premium mounted, so it's a lower cooldown. Standard repair party. So upgrades, not too much going on here. Main battery, damage control, aiming system, and reduce your flooding and fire extinguishing time. So kind of standard, nothing really quirky there. But again, the adrenaline rush with the super heal is very great, because while you're waiting for your heal to come off cooldown, you'll be more offensive, and then when you heal up, you'll slow down a little bit. So it kind of seesaws your reload, but keeps you in the fight. So there you have it. That is my take on the Nelson. Again, I'll post some gameplay footage links, and hopefully this helps inform you whether or not you want to invest those resources. Alright everybody, later.